Welcome to Radio Free South Africa. Your host, Karen Smith. You can follow us on our website, radiofreesouthafrica.com, or on Facebook at Radio Free South Africa. Tonight, our guests are Ed Begley from Tattoo Billy, a very well-known musician and a fighter who fought under the name White Tiger and fought his last fight on behalf of South Africans everywhere. Ed Begley has written 2 songs that I know of on behalf of South Africans, and we hope to play some of that music later in the program. Our other guest today is Patrick Fisher from Farmers Aid South Africa, who has a plan to do a Farm Aid type concert in aid of the South African farmers who are suffering so badly for many reasons, from murder and from the drought. Welcome, Patrick.
Hi, Karen. Nice to be on your show.
Thank you very much for being here. People must realize that it's 2 o'clock in the morning in South Africa. So to ask a guest to be awake, bright-eyed, bushy-tailed, and ready to talk sense at that time of the morning is probably very unfair of us, but nevertheless, it's the only way we can do it. So apologies, and again, thank you, Patrick. And
pleasure, Karen.
Welcome, Ed.
Thank you for having me.
Thank you so much, as always, Ed. You're a fabulous guest. And I have to confess that although I love music, I have been told on many an occasion, please do the world a favor and do not sing. I mean, that started with my music teacher in grade school and has continued up until this day. So although my knowledge of music is great, my ability with music is totally nil. So I'm glad you're here, Ed. You can discuss the musical things with Patrick, and I will gracefully bow out because I don't want to chase every listener away. So what I'd like to do is start with the situation in South Africa. Patrick, how did you get involved with Farm Aid? How did you come up with the idea? And why are you doing this?
Well, Gordon, the Farmers Aid SA idea actually comes from America's Farm Aid. I think you're quite aware of that. I think Willie Nelson and John Cougar Mellencamp actually started it. And basically what we've seen is what they did for the struggling family farmers and how they put this whole event together, and it's been going for 30 years. And they've actually helped farmers stay on their land. And I got inspired by doing by what they've done, and I said, well, listen, why don't we do the same kind of thing down here, you know? And then I contacted them, and I said, listen, you know, you're doing such a great job. Would you mind if we use the same concept that you guys use in South Africa? And then the lady said, no problem. They don't have a problem with that. So we basically based that whole thing around the American Farm Aid. And the only problem is, you know, they're struggling with corporate trying to close the family farmers. And our situation is we're actually having our farmers killed off.
Yes.
In very brutal ways. So it's a different challenge that we have. And we started it, you know, and it's just been going very well at the moment, you know. And with the help of your radio station, I'm sure that we can reach more awareness around this farm matters at the moment.
We are very lucky at the moment, Patrick, that we have a whole bunch of radio hosts, conservative radio hosts in the United States who are firmly behind the white South African cause. Not necessarily because you're white, but simply because you're being murdered like flies. And so we have the ability to reach a lot of people. We just need to prove that this particular cause is worthy, and then I'm sure that many people will get up and stand behind us. Ed, as a singer,
yes,
you became interested in the South African genocide a long time ago, and have done a lot of work for us. So for those few people who really don't know about you or don't know anything about your singing, could you just tell us how and why you got involved?
Okay. Well, I had a good friend. His name's From Maritz, and he was a DJ in South Africa. And he was playing our music over there, and I come across his web page, and he had a link on his page, and it said farmmurders.com. So I hit it, and at the time it was like October, so I thought it was some kind of a, haunted house type thing or something, because I've never heard of any murders going on over there in the mainstream media. So I clicked on it and seen what was going on, and I said, Franz, is this stuff really happening in your country? And he was like, yeah. I said, well, we got to do something about it, That's probably been 8-9 years ago. And so ever since then, I've geared my band about making people aware of it. Wrote a couple of songs, like you said, Thirsty as Veiled and Children of Ham, about the plight of the white African, and had a boxing match, came back to the ring after 10 or 11 years and had a fight, to raise awareness, fought as I went under the name the Rhodesian Nightmare, but everybody started calling me the White Tiger. And beat a kid that was 22 years old. He was the heavyweight champ of Indiana in MMA, and I outboxed him and beat him. And I anticipated on me being beat, and I figured even if I did lose, I was still winning because I was fighting for this cause. And when tickets wasn't selling, I bought the tickets just to fill the seats because I wanted everybody there to know what was going on and what I was fighting for, and everybody did. And it was a tough time that year. I lost my wife while I was in the middle of training for the fight, and then my dad was diagnosed with brain cancer, and he was the lead singer of Tattoo Billy at the time. So it was a tumultuous year for me, but I still fought, even though the promoter was like, hey, so much stuff has happened to you, if you want to cancel this fight, you can. And I was like, no, too many people are dependent on me, and I told them I would fight, and I'm going to fight. So, but, my whole career in the last 8 years has been geared for it. It's kind of strangled me a little bit here in the USA, because a lot of places are like, oh, they almost interpret the band as being like a white supremacist type band, and we're not. We're just an awareness band, much like U2 is bringing awareness. We're bringing awareness in another avenue, and when you start talking about anything with the word white in it, everybody's so quick to label you as a racist because you're standing up for, and with the Afrikaner, it's such a unique culture. It's such a unique people, and once it's gone, it's gone. It's much like the people in Appalachia that in my country, where my people come from, they have a unique culture in all itself too. And I admire, the white African from Rhodesia down to South Africa. As you notice, I'll never call Rhodesia Zimbabwe. Zimbabwe has been such a train wreck that took one of the greatest African countries and turned it into a country dependent on UN assistance and food, and taking white farmers away, and now they would like to have them back, but, a lot of them have moved on. And the same thing, in South Africa, you got the movement to, well, it's one of the most racist countries in the world. What can you say? You got over 100 laws that are biased to the white African, that are barring them out of the working, property, you name it. Can't even go in business unless you have a black man that goes in business with you. So this is a very racial country, and it's deemed on punishing white Africans that, for something called apartheid that, and like I told most people, most Boers I know, most white Africans I know, they have no problem with black people. This is it's a misconception that has been produced by the media that, every white person hated every black African and they held them oppressed. And they don't realize there was just as many poor white Africans at that time period than, just like in any other culture. Here in America the same way. You have a slight majority or a minority that are rich and the vast majority are poor, and it's the same way here in America. And that's what people don't realize, that most white Africans just want to live, work, and come home to their families.
Absolutely. Patrick, I think you would agree with that that we, in general, there are always some in the barrel that you can't generalize about, but in general, the white South African is really not out to slaughter and kill the black South Africans.
No, not at all, Corin. It's like Ed said, it's the media that spin that whole nonsense and stuff. But just to get back to the farm thing, if you look at the farm murders, if you just look at the farm attacks in, let's say, in 2012, from 2007 to 2008, there was 811 farm attacks, and this is now excluding the murders. And in 2008 to 2009, there was 1,315 farm attacks. And it just goes on. In 2009 and 10, it was 1,007. 2010 and 11, there was 1,091. 2011 to 12 was 1,007. It's just, and it's not getting better. It's actually getting worse. Every week, you get farm murders happening. And the thing is, it's not even where they go in and they steal stuff. It's basically just go kill and rape. Like, for instance, we had about a week and a half ago, a whole family was actually taken out. The mother and the father were butchered, and they had a 9-year-old daughter. And the sad part about this is, and I think we're all still in shock with this, is these Africans actually raped this 9-year-old. And after they raped her, they actually butchered her. They basically just cut her up. And nothing was actually stolen from the property. So the whole aim was basically just to wipe out that whole family. And that's the sad part, And speaking to farmers, they say, when it comes to nighttime, one of them has to sleep, one of them don't sleep, because they don't know if it's them next, And then it's frightening to stay on the farm, and then it becomes nighttime, because you really don't know if it's your turn tonight or not. Where I stay, those figures I gave you, that's just in Natal. That's not even in Joburg or Cape Town. That's just what tax is happening in Natal. And
so that is more than 2 a day if you even it out.
Yeah. Last week, there was 4
this year has been horrific.
No, it is, and it's getting more and more brutal, Colin. It's not just a case of I'm going to break in, steal your weapons or your money or whatever. No, they don't even worry about that. The whole aim is to destroy that white family. The women has to be raped, the children has to be raped,
and the father has to watch.
Well, there was an incident where I am about 30 minutes from where I stay, about 2 years or 3 years ago. A family got attacked. Now, this farmer actually used to help the Africans. He used to give them some food, place to stay and all that kind of stuff. He was good to them. And then they broke in and they hit him with a spanner, but they couldn't kill him. And then they took his wife, and they were actually holding his wife's eyes open while they took a chisel, and he was on his knees, and they hit it into his head, and she had to watch that. And he still didn't die, and then they just carried on hitting him with the spanner until he died. And when they caught the guards and they went to court, the judge asked him, "No, why would you kill such a good man?" He said, and his only answer that he gave was, "He's too clever."
He's too clever.
That was the answer he gave.
I've seen in the last week we've had a couple go to court on murders that they were actually by some miracle caught for, and their excuse was, well, he was white.
Well, they're saying now that they must rape a white woman on a farm. They have to,
But why?
Which is shocking, because you're actually taking the very food supply and the hand that feeds you, and you're cutting it off. Because if you look, that some 15 years ago, there was about 60,000 farmers in South Africa. Today's figure, you can't even reach 30,000. Some of them murdered, some of them went overseas. And the farms that they gave to the Africans, since the start of the land reform, some 18 years ago, it's estimated that about 90% of the black farmers were unproductive. You know,
Yes.
They were giving those farms, and no crop was produced.
Ever produced.
Ever, yeah.
And then if you look at the before and after pictures, there's nothing left of that farm. The trees are all chopped down. The farmhouse doesn't exist anymore. The implements are either rusting, destroyed, or sold. And yet the population is growing with explosive volcanic rate of it's just huge, the population explosion. So how are these poor remaining farmers supposed to feed these people?
They're struggling at the moment. I mean, they imported 5 million tons of maize from America at the moment because there's not enough in the country. You know, and the sad part about it is the government is not doing anything about it.
No,
these farm attacks.
Because Patrick, apart from the attacks, recently when the farmers needed feed and water brought to them, which they're going to need for a while, because although you've had fabulous rains and the dams are full, that is not an overnight recovery for farmers whose animals have all starved to death. So when that happened, the government then sent aid to black farmers and refused aid to white farmers.
That's true, yes. And I mean, this drought is still strong. Certain areas in KZN, they had a lot of rain, but in the Free State and upwards, there's farmers that don't even have, water for their households. Never mind their feed and stuff. And we get emails every day. People wanting where can we bring water to them? Can we get feed to them? The animals are dying. But we can only do
so much.
As much as we can. Yeah, we can only do so much. The need is just way bigger than what we can supply with.
Yeah.
And the farmers are looking for a voice to speak. And say, listen, our white farmers are busy dying by the thousands. And that's why I'm on your show. To create the international awareness and see how we can help. Because this has to stop. This is really just getting out of hand.
I know, Patrick. I've been doing this for a very long time. Not as long as Ed, however. And what Ed said is what I find as well, that the minute you mention white in any sentence or in any context, the immediate response is you're a racist and you want to return to apartheid. And it just becomes so difficult to break through that wall of ignorance, because it's not their fault they're ignorant about it. The world screamed about apartheid and then shut up entirely when we supposedly became a rainbow nation. And so now to break through that wall of silence and the inherited knowledge of the white South Africans are racist pigs who basically oppressed the blacks, killed them in their millions, so on. It is very, very difficult, and it doesn't happen overnight. Am I correct, Ed?
Yes. Sorry. It's like you said. It's a misconception of the media. The Western media, for since 1995, has heralded, Mandela such a hero that, to say anything against him is almost blasphemous. To say anything against the ANC is almost blasphemous. But it's like you said, it's more out of ignorance. Most people don't realize what Spirit of the Nation, the ANC, what they did coming to power. They don't show you in the movies the necklacing and the atrocities that were committed against other blacks by blacks of the ANC on their way to power. They, they didn't show why the police had to be so brutal to control the chaos, the murders that was being done, and it don't take much now with the internet. Only thing you got to do is type in ANC atrocities to see what was committed on their way to power. But like I said, most people are like, they thought there was a white people that imprisoned Mandela for no reason at all, not knowing about Church Street bombings, not knowing about everything that has transpired. So out of ignorance, they don't know. And one of my things here in the United States, is it's a hard battle. It was a hard battle with my own band. I had band members sit down and say, "Hey, we don't want to do this. We don't want to do what you're doing."
Damn it.
And I had to say, "Well, look, this is non-negotiable. What I'm doing, and what Tattoo has been doing, they did this after my father got sick and passed away. They was like, hey, so I got one guitar player that stayed with me, and I started a new band because it's not negotiable with me. My priorities, my principles, what I believe in. I believe in equality, and I believe in the Boer. I believe in the white African's rights to survive as Africans. They are African, and they're being ran out of their country. So, I mean, no matter how much pressure has been put on me over the years, and I've had it put on me, I've never surrendered what I believed in for them. I wouldn't have never gotten a boxing ring risking, my own health at 41 years old to fight somebody who could have knocked my brains out of my ears. I believed in it. And it was like I was trying to show, hey, sometimes you got to fight. Sometimes you got to fight against the system. You got to fight for what you believe in. People, even here in America, people are like, what do you believe? I said, I believe in the Constitution. I believe in America. And even if it's my property, my yard, that is the last refuge of what the Constitution and what America is about, what my ancestors fought for, that's what I am. This is America, right here where I stand on. And it's the same thing I've always been preaching about it to the Boer in South Africa, is your farm. That is your country. No matter what happens,
Absolutely.
no matter what happens with the government, you are a Boer, you are African, this is your country. And you unite with your neighbor, you unite with whoever, and this is your country. These 2 farms, these 3 farms, these 4 farms. And you resist.
It's very hard.
I know, and it is hard. And it's hard here in America. You're here in America.
Yep, I know. I've seen it from both sides.
We got a president right now that's the most anti-American president that's ever been in office. His heroes are the ANC. You know what I mean? Guys like Mugabe, he looks up to. So we as a culture, we as a people, we cannot be the whipping post of anything in the past. We're a new generation. We got what we got. We worked for it, and we're not going to surrender it. And
I had Tom Bowie on last week, and he said a thing that really stuck with me. The fact that we are pro-white does not make us anti-anybody else. We are simply standing up for our people, our race. It doesn't mean that we hate everybody else on earth.
No. And it's like you said, when I first got in this many years ago, I was very naive. I was like, hey, I'll just start doing something, and once people know, this will easily spread out. People will easily find out. You know what I mean? I was very naive that people were like me. They would see the truth, and they would accept the truth, and they would be like, hey, this is wrong. And boy, was I wrong.
Mm-hmm.
And so it's been an uphill battle, and I haven't quit. And I ain't going to lie, there's been times, and I've even told you, I felt like, I don't know if I can do this anymore. You know
I know,
what I mean?
Both. I mean, we've cried on each other's shoulders and said, okay, we both quit. But if we do, and people like us 3 quit, then what happens to South Africa when the few voices that are willing to stand up for them, like you are and Patrick, if we quit today, then what?
Exactly.
It'll be a total disaster, Gordon. That's what I say. The farmers do need a voice to speak for them, and we want to speak for the farmers. We said about a week ago. We said when Cecil the lion died and got shot, there was a huge outcry worldwide about this lion. Yet a 9-year-old girl gets raped and brutally murdered, and nobody says a word. And we've said it openly. Since when is a lion more important than a 9-year-old girl's life? There's something desperately wrong with society.
But it's not that, Patrick. I don't think it is more the fact that nobody says anything. The media has put a lid on South Africa since 1994, and the world doesn't know because, as Ed and I have both said, if people know, they are willing to help. They are shocked. They are stunned. But you have to create that awareness to make them go and research, because when they check what we have said and find that we haven't even scratched the surface, they are horrified and want to help. But because they have been kept in the dark for so long, there has been no help for anybody because they didn't know. Because Americans, in essence, are the kindest people in the world. Once more, I'm generalizing. There are those people who will attack us because we are racist. But in general, I have found that the Americans are the kindest, most open-hearted people in the world. And although they have problems of their own right now, they are still willing to look at the big picture and help if you ask them to. They are amazing people, but because they didn't know, they didn't help. And that's what we're trying to do.
Yeah, and there's been quite a few Americans I've met that have really been, like me, passionate, and it was a real pleasure to meet other people that are from my same country that understand, like I understand. One of them's Chris Thornton. I think, are you friends with him on Facebook, I think? Yeah, and I mean, he spoke out. He's been unbelievable. And other friends over in Massachusetts. And, I mean, there's been a lot of amazing Americans outside myself and you that have actually spoke up and stood up, and not in any racial sense. It's more about making awareness and saying, hey, this is going on now. We got an entirely reverse apartheid that's even worse, that it's almost, it's going into genocidal state in South Africa that, but it's like you said, the reporters are silenced on it. You know what I mean? Nobody wants to report on it. You'll hear, the only thing I've heard out of South Africa was a monkey attacking an American. You remember that? That was the last report I've ever heard out of South Africa. I have not heard about any farm murders. You know what I mean? But they reported a monkey attacking somebody. There's really a tight-lipped thing, and you got to be honest. You've heard it here in the United States. So many people, and not just here, but worldwide, they're getting what they deserve. They're being punished for apartheid. And that's the concept that's been beat into people's heads. That and like you said, they don't realize what is really going on. You got a president over there that admitted to, like, I used to use black magic and voodoo, you know what I mean, against white people. This was a guy, you know what I mean, who actually
the world
has came out and people don't realize that apartheid is still alive in South Africa. It's under a different name. It's the ANC. That, Zulus still stay with Zulus. Every tribe still stays with their tribe. You know what I mean?
Like worldwide, allowed to do that.
And that's what I told people. You can't compare segregation of America to apartheid in South Africa. It's a tribal system. It's totally the mentality. Everything's different. You got people over there that believe in black magic, voodoo. You know what I mean? It's part of their culture, to try to compare them to, say, an American African, African American. There's no comparison. It's a total different mindset. And it's like you said too. There's a lot of good black South Africans that are against the ANC too. At one point on my Twitter, I would be tweeting things about South Africa. The only person that would be retweeting me was a guy called Omar the Great, who was a black South African, used to be a Rhodesian, that fought in the Bush War. You know what I mean? He's anti-ANC himself. you know, and most white people are scared to touch the subject, and I found more acceptance with black Americans and people with darker skin than I did white, you know, Americans.
Well, Ed, when we started, do you remember when we were on Carla's show, Voices of Sisters of Thunder? We started there. So
right.
small, and yet it was a black show host.
Woman,
who
yes.
About our cause, first person in the USA that took me under her wing, taught me the rudiments of broadcasting, and did a weekly show, and never shut up about it. And that was a black lady. So yes, we found a lot of acceptance among them. But in South Africa, to speak up being white is dangerous. But to speak up being black is a death sentence.
Right. And it's like you said, that lady was great. She was great as in standing up, you know what I mean? And most people are like it. They don't look at the color as much as this is a human rights violation.
Exactly.
You know, this is a human rights violation. This is something the UN should have stepped in 10 years ago, you know, and the UN has not made one move to step in. And that's even knowing there's genocidal speeches coming from the leaders of this country. You know, the UN has never once stepped in and said, hey, you know, it's been maybe pat you on the hand or...
They've just appointed Zuma to a UN position. So, you know, what does that tell you? The UN is not coming to the aid of the white South Africans?
No. It almost seems like it's a worldwide plot to destroy it, you know?
Hold on, Ed. Yes, Patrick, sorry.
I'm sorry.
Years ago, there was when I was in Australia, and on the news, they had a little thing about South Africa. And now in South Africa at lunchtime, the Africans normally just go and lie on the grass and they sleep in their shower. So what this reporter did now, the Australian reporter, is they took pictures of this. And they said, this is what the white people are doing to the Africans, killing them and leaving them on the side of the road.
Oh, my goodness.
And that was on the news. And this lady, you know, she said to me, how can you people do that, you know? I said, you see, that's the misrepresentation of what's happening in South Africa. I said, what you see there is these Africans at lunchtime go and lie down and sleep for that hour or half an hour. Right? I said, you guys now has caused a huge problem, you know, making the whites this monsters that they're not, you know. And even Ed was speaking about you too. I think you're familiar with Steve Hoffmeyer?
Yes.
Got him?
Yes, and Ed's a friend of his.
Yes. And he actually bought 2 tickets for, I think it was 5,000 Rand a ticket or something, for YouTube, but it was his favorite band. And he went and performed one night in a little town, and when he finished performing, he went and rushed down to go and see the YouTube. And on the way, YouTube had an interview. And on the way, YouTube said that they agree on killing farmers on the radio. And Steve said he stopped his car there, and he took those tickets and he tore it up and he threw it outside. He says as much as what he loves U2, he says, how can you go and sit in a concert with people that condoning farm murders in South Africa?
But I think that is the overall problem, is that either they're condoning it or they are simply turning their backs on it, because you cannot tell me that politicians worldwide do not know the problems in South Africa. They know, but they're refusing to acknowledge it or do anything about it. So the blood is on their hands as well. And there is a lot of blood.
It is. It's even with the police, you cannot get true stats on the farm owners. They cover it up. You know, so many attempts have made for the government to step in and said, listen, let's do something about these farm owners. But nothing gets done. You know, it's basically it's becoming like second nature. Now another farmer got killed, you know.
But that's what scares me so much, Patrick, about it, is that all of us are becoming so desensitized to it that you read it, you see it in the morning on Facebook, on other social media, you see it, you read it, you say, oh my Lord, no, and move on with your day because it's normal. Damn it, this is not normal.
No, it's not normal. I don't think it can ever be normal if a 9-year-old girl gets raped and butchered. You know. No,
and at the moment, Patrick, we're talking only about farm murder. What about all the others?
No, it is. I mean, even the I don't know if you see on Facebook, but even the police are attacking the whites on the side of the road.
Yes.
But
yes.
You know, it's not just farm murders. People get murdered in their houses. I mean, one guy got murdered and he got chopped off, and they found his body parts in different parts of the house. You know.
Yes.
Yeah, you know, it's very sick, and you know that's why we're standing up and speaking and creating this awareness, because something needs to be done.
Because, Patrick, and this needs to be addressed as well, that in South Africa there are even those who do not acknowledge it. They see it in front of their faces. Well, maybe they don't because the press doesn't report on it. But how can you live in South Africa and pretend that this is not happening? Because there are lots of them.
No, you know, people are scared. They're scared to speak because they're worried about what will happen. Even people don't want to talk about the farm attacks. You know, people that lost victims. They don't want to talk because they're scared that people will come back and kill them. You know, it's and the thing is, that's what we're saying. You know, it's let's get together and find solutions to this problem, because this farm murders basically escalated when the government disbanded the commandos.
Yes.
Which protected the farmers.
Yes.
And when when the ANC started seeing kill the boer, all that kind of stuff, you know, it's things like that stirs the people up, and then they just go mad, you know. And then we say, no, you know, enough is enough, you know. We need to find solutions, because they're making it so difficult now with the gun laws for white people to own guns.
Yes.
So that indirectly it's basically disarming the whites.
But,
you know?
Patrick, even if you do own a gun and you defend yourself, look at those 4 farmers who are in court right now for murder because they defended another farmer. And who is in court? Not the people who were breaking into the farm. Those farmers are going to go to jail.
Yeah. Yeah,
So even if you do have a firearm by some miracle, you cannot defend yourself because you're the one who will be wrong.
No, it is, you know. And the thing is, you know, they're like a pack of hounds, as I say. You know, they don't come by one.
No.
They come about 6 or 8 people
at
a time to your farm. And then they definitely take the husband out first. And then they just have their way with the children, you know. I mean, it's if I have to tell you, you know, that there's some shocking stuff, you know, what they do, you know. I mean, they, I don't even think you can say that over the radio. You know, what they actually do to these women, you know. And
Patrick, I say it every chance I get. They rape them with broken bottles. They rape them with sharpened broomsticks till the broomstick comes out the top of their head. They burn their faces on hot stoves. They burn them with hot irons. They pour oil down their throats, say to life. They drown the kids in boiling water. They hang the children from the rafters. They do the most barbaric, insane things, and then they leave with maybe a cell phone.
Yeah, I mean, like I said, that family of Kawaka, they didn't take anything. And there was guns, there was money. They just didn't take anything. Their whole aim was to destroy that family, you know. And that's what we're saying, you know, we need to do something where we can create that safety for these farmers, and they're crying for it, you know.
I know, but you've had people go to the unrepresented nations. You've had people go to the United Nations. You've had groups go and present the case to these groups and say, please help. And they say, yeah, we'll get to it. So although we've been to the United Nations more than a year ago on behalf of the white people of South Africa, they are now investigating police brutality, but they are not investigating white murders.
No, they don't. You know, that's why we're saying it's no use we going to the government and say, let's work together and make something. This is not going to work. You're wasting your energy. Now it's basically the people who have to get together and raise funds to sort that thing out by themselves, because otherwise, it's falling on deaf ears. It has been since 1994.
Yeah.
They had since 1994 to do something about farm murders, and they're not.
Well, they still don't even acknowledge it, because the last time they went to the police said, yes, it is a problem, but we're still not going to report it by category of farm murders. And we'll form a committee. We'll think about doing something about it. But once again, nothing will be done.
No, it's like here in America. I've contacted several.
Hang on, Ed. I'll get you in 1 second. Sorry, Patrick.
No problem. Now Zimbabwe is begging the white farmers to come back so they can produce food for their country, because they're all starving.
Yes, but they can only have their farms on lease. They cannot own them again. Sorry, Ed, you were saying?
Oh, no, I was just saying I've contacted the embassy in South Africa, sent letters to the president here, and contacted my governor of my state, and never once, we'll just get your typical, we thank you for your letter type response. So it's pretty much every politician's going to turn their back on this situation, and it's going to be, and on a lot of people, they're like, if Trump or somebody gets in here, and I'm telling you now, don't count on a politician to get anything done for you.
No.
I'm just going to be honest and frank with people. A lot of people got their hopes in Africa on Donald Trump to straighten things out and stuff. And, just being here, he's going to have such a mess to straighten up here. I really don't see him perceiving anything into South Africa or Rhodesia to get rid of, he may not like Robert Mugabe, but I do not see him supporting any coup to throw the man over and stuff.
Well, he's got to get off office.
Yes, I mean,
not as one man can come in here and turn everything around and change the world's opinion. There's still
like
Congress.
Patrick says we got to unite and do something about it, and that's what I'm gathering from Patrick. The board, the Afrikaner, are going to have to unite and do something. They're going to, like you said, there's something they got to do. They're going to have to stand up. And I'm not talking in some kind of military, you know what I mean? I know a lot of people have been standing up. I mean, Steve Hoffmeyer, I consider him a real good friend of mine, you know what I mean? And I think he's one of the strongest voices that is at least being heard outside of South Africa. You know what I mean? And I was so impressed with him here in America. This is a man, he's much like myself, is he don't surrender his values. And I just look at him as one of the great leaders to fall behind in South Africa. I think he's just such a strong voice. He's not afraid to stand up. He could easily just ride the wave, get paid, you know what I mean, and just continue on his existence. But he's putting himself at risk. He's putting himself out there, and I really think. I see him as just not just a musician or a great entertainer that he is, but I see him as a leader. I see him as one of the future leaders to rise out of South Africa because of his voice is just so strong. He's so strong. He reminds me much, in the form of Tara Blanche, which I never witnessed or looked at as a racist either. You know what I mean? A lot of people did. I looked at him as much like Shaka Zulu was to the Zulu tribe. I looked at him as to the white African as that great war chief, that great strong voice that was willing to put himself at risk, you know what I mean, for his people. He could have easily just farmed his land and never spoke out or resisted, but he did. And that's the way I look at Steve Hoffmeyer. This is a man who's willing to put his very existence for what he believes in. He's really standing up, and I really stand behind him, and I respect him so much, not just as a musician, and we talk music, but, when I talk to him online or something, he's just, he never wavers on what he tweets, or he never wavers on what he posts. He posts more about his political views standing for his people than he does his music. Most people will be trying to sell their music, you know what I mean? And he told me one time, you don't stand for a cause to sell your song. I stand for my cause because, this is what I believe, and he's willing to lose it all for his belief, and just so amazing to me. And it's the same way here in America. I mean, you know how it is here when you're standing for what we're standing for, and especially in my position as an entertainer. You know, I've had places like, are you going to do this South African thing? Because if you are, you know,
we don't want to
have you. Yeah, so I've lost plenty of jobs because I was like, well, yeah, I will mention what the band's kind of founded on, you know, and I've never wavered in my aspect. And like I said, if I was making my entire living at playing music, it would really hurt me. But, you know, I got off the road, play, you know, full-time like that no more than probably a couple years ago. So I went back to work on a full-time job, and I still play music, and I'll still travel a little bit, and I still record, and still get to go hang out with some big artists, you know, which is pretty cool. And but you know, I won't waver on what I believe in. And even my father was the same way. When we was took into what was a subsidy to a major label in Nashville, that pretty much said, you know, we would sign you and stuff, but one thing you got to do is kind of quit the South African stuff that you're doing now, you know, because of your image, and we'll have to pull all those videos, we'll have to pull all this stuff, we'll have to recreate you. But the thing is, this is what we do, you know what I mean? This is who we are. So we didn't, you know, sell out. We didn't, you know, want to pull our videos because, you know, we think we're reaching people. And not just South African people. We think we're reaching Americans. They're getting aware. They're starting to find out. And that's what it's all about. I want as many people as I can reach to find out, hey, this is what's happening there. And this ain't right, you know. And something's got to be done about it.
My husband's a very African American, and he uses this phrase, stand up and be counted, or lie down and be mounted. And I agree totally, because that is where we're at right now. We either stand up or we give up completely and just let them roll over us.
It's like I told a lot of people. Oh, I'm sorry.
No, go ahead.
But it's the same thing what you just said. You know what I mean? You either stand for something or you're going to fall for anything.
Yes.
You know, most people just like, give me my paycheck, let me come home and watch TV. I don't want to get involved in anything. I don't want to stand up for anything. You know what I mean? But God calls us. If you know what's right and not do nothing about it, you're guilty.
Yep.
You know, and I believe that. You know, and it's just like with the box match. The reason I fought it is because, you know, I really believed in what I was fighting for. You know what I mean? And it spoke to me. I could speak a million words from there forward, but how many people would actually stand up and fight and risk their physical health for a cause? And that's more what I was trying to gain out of it. You know, it's like, hey, I'm going to fight for this.
Yes, you are.
You know, and I didn't make a dime. I didn't make a dime off the fight. You know what I mean? And it was a hard fight, especially for 41 years old. But I fought, and it showed you, if God's with you, no matter how old you are, no matter how big the opponent is, that you can win. If God's with you and you're in the right, you can win any fight. And I really believe this is something that's, you know, I look at things in a spiritual aspect too, and I think what's going on in South Africa, you know, it's a very spiritual, demonic thing too that's going on. I believe, you know, and I'm sure you do too. You're a Christian lady. What's going on there is a satanic attack too. This is people trying to wipe out, you know, the face of Christianity as well. You know, this is a country that's filled up with black magic and voodoo with a lot of people, you know.
Yep.
And what people don't realize is the Boer and the Afrikaner was that light to that country. They brought the gospel. They settled the country. They made it a habitable country. You know, you take the white African out of Africa, it goes back to what they call a dark continent. Not because people are black, because they will fall right back into what's happening now. Roads not being repaired, things not being took care of, corruption, and you know. So I mean, we got to stand with our Christian brothers in South Africa. You know, Patrick, he's willing to stand up, and it's more dangerous for him to stand up than us over here.
Way more.
You know, this is a man that could be targeted and killed tomorrow for just speaking out. you know. So he's, you know, I admire him. You know, this is a brave individual that's willing to try to do something, and we should stand behind those kind of people. Those are leaders. And we, you know, Patrick Myers, Sunette Bridges, you know, these people that are willing to risk everything to stand up
and
against.
do something,
Yes.
not sit behind the keyboard all day and be a keyboard cowboy who does and achieves nothing. Stand up, raise your voice, and do something. And get up at 2 o'clock in the morning to do it.
Yes, that's very admirable for him to be up, you know, this late and join you on here. But, you know, and it's great that Patrick is putting this together. And I told him, he probably didn't see my text to him, if he gives me the info on the flyer for this event, I'll try to get, like, I know, you know, quite a few South African entertainers that I'll get them to try to tweet it and advertise it, you know, and try to help him out as much as I can advertise this event that he's going to have. And I think it's just great. I think music really reaches people more than guns, knives, or, you know what I mean? Music really gets out there and can reach more people than any other aspect at all. So, you know, as soon as he gets this with the dates and the times, I'm going to try to get other people to help advertise it and tweet it, and hopefully we can get him a real big crowd out there, you know?
Yes, and some support from this side. Yes, Patrick.
Yes.
Right. No, just to add, we've been asked last week what political party are we associated with, you know, because we speak out and stuff. So I said to them, listen, we are not associated with any political party except one. And so the guy said, which one? So I said the ABC party, you know, and he looked at me like I was totally nuts, you know. And he says, what is ABC? I said, well, ABC, there's no corruption, ever. I said, there's no cheaters, there's no gravy train, right? So he says, but what does it stand for? I said, always believe Christ.
Yes.
Right.
Well, what I wanted to add here is that a bunch of show hosts in America have taken to talking about the God of Blood River, because when they learned about that Boer battle, they were so amazed at the power of God and what God can do, that we have taken to, well, we need to pray to the God of Blood River, or, well, the God of Blood River was there that night, and so on. And it's becoming a watchword amongst a select group of people in America, that this God of the Boer is an ultra-powerful God who can overcome again on their behalf.
And what's great about Blood River...
Most farmers are Christians, you know, and the workers, if one farm owner dies, the impact it has on the economy and the community is huge, because on every farm there's about 8 to 12 people working.
And living there.
And I mean, they always say that the farmers treat the workers bad. I want to correct that. I can take you to any farm here where I stay, and you'll find that they've got their own place to stay that was built by the farmer. The farmer buys them food every month. Right? The farmer actually pays for his child to go to university.
He sees to their medical problems.
And all that, you know. So the farmer really looks after his workers, you know. And that misconception that the white farmers are mistreating the black farmers, the black workers, it's totally nonsense.
Patrick, I'm a trained nurse, and when I lived on my parents' farm with them, we had medical call every single morning for our farm workers. And no matter what the problem was with them, they would come to the back door every single morning before work and get treated. And if we could not treat it, we would take them down to town, which was quite far away, but we would take them to town, to the hospital or to the doctor or whatever was required. And they lived on the farm, and yes, we gave them their food every month, so they get their food as well as their salary. And as you say, there's either a farm school that the farmer has created for them, or one nearby, and you pay for their children to go to university because you want them to do better. But the thing is, those same workers, their family have worked for the farm family forever. Forever.
Yeah.
They know no other life.
No.
It's like you said, during apartheid, more Africans, black Africans, lived the Western lifestyle than any other country in Africa.
Yes, they did.
And there was more doctors educated through colleges than there is, than any other country in Africa. So, it was a place for them to, really advance, and advance not in witch doctorness, but real Western medicine. And but the other thing, like you guys mentioned earlier about Blood River, is, it was a covenant. It was one of those countries that was founded in a covenant, like Jerusalem or Israel, to God, And one thing about God is He never forgets covenants, promises He makes. So I without a doubt, I believe, there will, the Afrikaner or the Boer is going to rise back up and have their country back, because it was dedicated that they created the country by a promise to God, And what a lot of people don't realize, most of the tribes that have settled in these areas are not indigenous, sorry, the word I was trying to use, are not of these areas. I mean, actually, some of the Boer had actually beat most of these tribes in some of these areas.
Yep.
And settled them,
Right. Ed, hold that thought. We'll be back.
Man was in the bush again, resistance to the bitter end. They're on your left and on your right. You know they came ready to fight. Children and you got blood on your hands, sinking in quicksand. You never make it to the promised land. You a wild child. Wild child. Yeah, come undone. Wild child. Oh, you never learn. Wild child. Children out in the street, mama's trying to raise something to eat. Women and children being abused. The ANC now ain't they cool? Children have, you got blood on your hands, sinking in quicksand. You never make it to the promised land. You a wild child. Wild child. Yeah, come undone. Wild child. Oh, you never learn. Wild child. You got blood on your hands. Wild child. All you Africans in the house, throw your hands up and make a fist. We about to resist. All you Africans in the house, throw your hands up and shout it out to France, the rich. Wild child, come on, wild child. Oh, you never learn. Wild child, you got blood on your hands. Wild child.
Welcome back to Radio Free South Africa. This is your host, Karen Smith. and that was Children of Ham by Tattoo Billy. And I'm pleased to say that Begley of Tattoo Billy is one of our guests tonight. Our other guest is Patrick Fisher from South Africa with Farmers Aid. Now, you two, I'm basically going to back out of this conversation and let you discuss music and the logistics of doing this thing, because I am hopeless. Patrick, I hope that you can hear Ed when he speaks, because I've got a very Heath Robinson affair going here to connect the two of you. I've got you via Skype and my speakerphone and then into the show. So I seriously hope that you can hear each other, and have at it, guys.
Ed, you want to start with me?
Yeah, I can hear you.
Okay. Well, basically, what we want to do is we want to create an event, because we were told, we're not going to get funding from the government in terms of helping the farmers, because we're white orientated. So we said, okay, no, that's fine. We'll have to sit and create our own funding. Yeah. So we came up with this idea of doing an event. We already got a place booked in Witbank. It's on the Farmers Dam, and it's amazing how it's come together. Because we're working with a South African group called South African Family Relief Project, with Lee Oxley, a wonderful lady who's doing wonderful, with white families that's staying in shacks and stuff like that. She's trying to help them. So we're going to be joining forces together to create this event, and we want as much white people that's really tired of all this farm murder and the killing of white people to come together in one spot, and there will be something for everybody. There will be entertainment for the kids and for the men, and there'll be live entertainment with Steve Hofmeyer that will be there as well. And then the funds that generated through the ticket sales will then be used to go, and the donations from people that we receive, to create a system where we can actually safeguard these farmers on their farms. Now, there's a lot of white people that's without work at the moment because they can't get work because they're white. So we want to get them together, train them, and start like a security feature where they can actually look after these farms. Because we found that the security companies are doing actually more than what the police are doing at the moment. So we just try and create that so we can have a dedicated group of people looking after the farmers in different areas. But the cost in that obviously is big. So we're hoping for a big turnout. What makes the event also special is we're going to live stream it just about every country in the world. So South Africans in different parts of the world can actually log in and watch this live event, and we can create more awareness around these farm murders and the impact it has on the economy and the community as a whole. And that's why I've contacted you as well. See if how you can help us as well, because you're a musician, you know how it works.
Right. Yeah, I know Lee. Yeah, she's been involved for a lot of years and helping out. I know, and here in America and all over the place. So yeah, she's a real great lady. And in America, I can help promote it. You know what I mean? And
yes.
I could try to raise some funds. You know what I mean? And here in America, it's like Karen will tell you, it's kind of an uphill area here in a lot of aspects. But it's making a lot of we are making a lot of ground here. More people, I'd say, today know more about the plight of the Boer in South Africa than they did probably 5 years ago. Wouldn't you say, Karen?
Absolutely.
Awesome.
Yes, we are definitely making inroads, and not just in America. I'm proud to say I've been involved with sending a Canadian writer to South Africa to do research and come back and write a book. We were involved with a Swedish journalist who was there recently, also doing research, interviewing people, has already written one incredible article of the first in a series. We've got a Norwegian guy also going out there to write a book. I'm involved with Sinead O'Connor. We're doing a documentary from the beginning in 1652 up until today. We put out the trailer over the weekend for that. So, yes, we have raised a lot of interest, but not nearly enough.
Yeah. And like I said, I can do what I can here to raise some funds, but it's like it's almost an uphill battle because a lot of people, once you start doing things, they almost are looking at you like you're doing some kind of a racist type thing.
Yeah.
But I will definitely, you know what I mean? It's like with the boxing match. I bought the tickets, filled the seats up that people wasn't buying tickets, and then in the end, I wound up even donating out of my own pocket to the foundation. It was Sinette Bridges' foundation. You know what I mean? So the promoter actually, who was supposed to donate after I did all this, wound up skipping out on me. And so I wound up, I did the donation out of my own pocket. But, hey, I mean, I'll do, like I said, I'll try to get like Steve Hoffmeyer to try to get behind the event that you're doing and help, you know, spread the word out over there, because you definitely need more of the word spread there to get the people to your event. And I'm friends with Thighs. I can't even pronounce his last name. He's kind of like the comedian type player over there. Thighs. I can't even pronounce his last name. It's not his real last name, but it's. But he's kind of popular over there too, and he'll probably, you know, help retweet and promote the event. And like I said, I'll try to raise some funds here, and you give me the info work to donate it at, and I'll try to raise some money here too for the event. And but I'll definitely help you promote it. And if I could get there, I'd come there and play.
That would be awesome. We actually had a group. They were from the 80s. A South African guy, who also left South Africa. Robbie Rob. I don't know if you know him. He used to have a band called the Asylum Kids.
Okay. And
no, he's in the States, and they're actually reuniting, and they want to do a tour.
Okay.
And he actually heard about my event and what we want to do, and he even said, please, when he goes down, he wants to perform for us free of charge for the scores. He said that's something very dear to his heart, and he's also an ex-South African and stuff. So we've been fortunate. Farmers have even the Bidbank we were having the event. Even the farmer next door said, "Listen, I've got 2 plots of land that you guys can use for parking free of charge." Because there's something happening that they can see. People want to help, and that gives them a little bit of hope, and that's what we want to create. And because at the moment they're so down because the government is not doing anything. Nobody cares about them. They're just becoming like statistics, And we said, no, at Farmers Aid we will always remember the fallen, And even at the event itself, there's going to be a dedicated segment to these victims. We're actually busy negotiating with a choir in Cape Town, and he's also doing a choir thing with all the names of all the victims from '94, and that's actually going to be on the event itself. So there's going to be a dedication to these people to get the farm victims who's lost them to come on stage.
I can shoot at you, Patrick, and you are more than free to take the MP3s of like Tertius Veld and Children of Ham and put them up on a site and sell the downloads and just keep the money for the event. And I can help promote that. I mean, I don't know how much it would raise, but I mean, I wrote the songs. It's like I told Karen, the songs where I wrote for you guys anyway. So if anybody can use them to benefit the boar, they're more than welcome to, you can put the songs up and sell them. And with my permission and just keep the funds to, help the event. If you're interested in doing that, and like I said, I'll try to do what I can do here. And like I said, I can probably definitely give you a lot of promotion. You just give me the info, and I'll run it like crazy, through all my social media, and try to make it as, a successful event for you. And
that's awesome.
And like I said, you're more than free to use any of the music and sell it, and it's just an angle. If you're interested in doing that, you're more than free to do that. And like I said, I'll try to help promote it here and through people, everybody I know in South Africa. It's in the entertainment. Might get like maybe South Africa and events to help push it and promote it too. They're the ones that brought Steve Hoffmeyer here to America. And yes.
You have a friend, Wild Horse, don't you?
Yes, he can help. That's yes. He can help advertise it through his radio too, and he's a South African too. And so I can use every angle that I got to help you out and make the event successful. I wish I was able to get over there. If I could get over there, I'd come over and play for nothing too.
That would be awesome.
Well, if somebody could write a jingle for this event, I could get it played on many radio stations here.
We have asked a few musicians in South Africa to write a song about this whole thing, but strangely enough, nobody wanted to. Huh? To be honest, we even had a prominent radio station that we said, listen, this is what we want to do. The event is unique because we're going to be a live stream. First thing in South Africa is going to be live stream overseas. And the money is not going into the pockets of the organizers, but rather to the needs of the farmers. And they refused us point blank.
Wow.
They said they don't want to get involved.
We need about a 30-second jingle that could be played in the ad section, and we could get it played all over the place. I mean, that would not be a problem at all if we could.
We could probably contact Franz Moritz, believe it or not, even though he's a South African. I've even told Steve Hoffmeyer this. This guy knows all kinds of people in the music industry. He came over here and lived for a while. He was living in Nashville, and then he came up here to our Red October event. And but we might be able to organize some South African musicians and maybe other musicians around the world, and we could do a song. You know what I mean?
Oh, that'd be fantastic.
And make it a song that we set up and sell just for the benefit of the Boer farmers.
Mm-hmm. So that would be fantastic. It will just encourage the farmers that there's help,
Exactly.
Because they're so down at the moment. It's just not funny. So if something like that happens, I mean, it will really encourage them, knowing that there's people that really care about them.
Well, and it's like saying, Karen can tell you, I mean, I'll definitely get behind it in every aspect that I can for being overseas. I know a lot of different DJs, so a lot of them might help advertise it. You know what I mean? And if we know once you send me the info about the foundation or wherever the thing you got set up to collect the money, I can share that too. You know what I mean? Yeah, I don't know if you got like a GoFundMe page you could set up.
Oh Lord, I wouldn't suggest that. Ed, the Anti-Defamation League, they proudly announced some months ago that they had 2 South African GoFundMes taken down for fraud because the whites are not in danger in South Africa, and anybody raising money for that is a fraud. So they had them taken down off GoFundMe.
Yeah, I know.
Whatever other avenue we can find, like PayPal, you know what I mean? A PayPal link that we can donate to, and we can help start pushing it, and like I said, I know Steve. Steve will get behind it and at least tweet it probably a few times for us, and the other artists I know, and too bad we couldn't probably get somebody like Steve to actually show up, but the guy, he's got such a busy schedule, you know what I mean? But I can throw it at him, but it wouldn't probably be no guarantee, you know what I'm saying?
Yes, thank you.
Yes, Lee actually said she's going to speak to him this week. And she says she's going to make sure that he's there. And then the area where we're having it is huge Steve Hofmeyer fans.
Yeah.
And she said, she's going to get him and a lot of other artists to come and perform on the night. We also can maybe do is do a live thing on the day of the event. Of course, we're live streaming it. Maybe have Ed during the certain segments of the show to say something live to the farmers from American side,
Well, what I was thinking, we could get what I did for the Million Stemmers birthday bash. We could get American show hosts to say, wishing you every success with this, etc., and love and kisses from the USA. I can get about 25 of them that can just be played during the show so that they know that people are watching, listening, and caring.
That is.
Yes.
That will help a lot. Because, especially when you send that reporters to come and do that thing on the article on the farm murders and stuff. And when they phoned me, I explained to them as well. I said, you must understand, a farmer, it takes time for him to trust you.
Yes.
But when he trusts you, he trusts you. And stuff. And we now that stage where they are really actually trusting us, because they can see that, listen, we're not here to do them in. We're not here to financially benefit from the drought of the farmers and the problem with the farmers,
Yes.
So we've got that trust with them. And I think what you just mentioned now will just be fantastic with them. They'll just see that, listen, this is not just a fly-by-night thing. These are people that really care.
Well, once I have a date for it, I can start putting the word out, because I can get you 20, 25 of them. Short recorded messages. But just that we care. We do care. We are hearing you, Yeah. And I think that, I've said for a long time, that from this distance, the biggest thing we can give to South Africans is the hope that they are not deserted there on the tip of Africa, that the world is actually looking and caring.
Yes, and I believe the more Americans find out, I'm sorry.
Sorry,
go ahead. I'm sorry.
Go ahead.
No, I'm getting a delayed reaction anyway, so that's I didn't mean to interrupt him, but it was like a delayed, But no, I was just saying I was just following what you were saying, Karen. Yeah, a lot of people here in America, the more they find out about it, the more they are getting behind it, and it's just been an uphill battle, like Karen said, just because no mainstream media will report on it, and it's more or less, I don't think they want to ruin the name of Nelson Mandela and his legacy, but it's still getting out, and more people, thanks to the internet nowadays, more and more people are finding out about it, and so hopefully at one point we might get Fox News or someone to actually report a farm murder, and if they do, I think that's what would really open it up. And I even called a lot of the talk radio too, like Sean Hannity, called there, talked to somebody, but they wouldn't put me online.
No.
Nobody wants to deal with that issue. So hopefully one day we can get somebody like in Fox News that's actually got some gonads that are like willing to say, hey, here's a farm murder. The mother was raped. The daughter was raped and murdered, and you know what I mean? The whole family is wiped out for no apparent reason but a cell phone. And it's amazing that the last thing I've heard out of South Africa, if it went for me knowing people there, the last thing I would have heard out of there was the monkey that attacked an American. It was visiting over there. So, it's really, really an uphill battle when they're more willing to, talk about a monkey attacking somebody than they are about, farmers are actually being butchered and murdered and ran out of their country. So
I
really,
if you last week, just about every day,
Yes.
A farm murder happened
Yes.
last week.
Yes.
Yeah.
It was horrific.
Yeah. I mean, the week before that, 4 farms were hit in the space of 2 hours.
Mm.
You know, and that's why I say it's such a big need at the moment to do this, because if we don't do anything, I don't even want to know what the outcome is going to be. You know?
Well,
because they like family, Karen.
I know.
It's like losing a family member. You know?
Patrick, you don't need to tell me. I know they killed my father on the farm, so I know.
Yeah.
I know. But what you're going to do, apart from shout from the rooftops, which is what I've been doing for years now, and Ed's been doing it for longer than me. But I will say this. If you go to a very, 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 very popular blog site called Daily Ken, you will see that Ken himself reports every single day on South African murders, on South African affairs, on South African everything. He is a staunch supporter of ours. And he will definitely shout to the rooftops about this happening. In fact, I'm going to speak to him about having you on his show. But yes, things, people are waking up. People do care. People are reporting on it. We have another guy, Blackburg Nine's Trading Post. He's a well-respected radio host. He talks about it all the time. Renegade Broadcasting talks about it all the time. Sacred Cow Barbecue talks about it all the time. There are people who seldom go a single show without mentioning South Africa. So it's happening. It is happening. But we need, much as I hate the mainstream, we need one of them to just report one thing, and the dam will break.
And it would open up.
Carry on, Ed.
Sorry, Ed, it was your turn to speak.
Oh, no, that's what I said. Yeah, if one reporter will actually report on a mainstream site or, and some news event of a South African murder, like you said, it would open up.
Yes.
I know of right now not one ever that any news broadcast in America outside of the, except for outside of the mainstream. But in the mainstream, there's never been no reports of farm murders in the United States from South Africa. But you'll hear everything about bombings in Pakistan, everything else, but not any murders in South Africa. You don't hear anything about Robert Mugabe, and Zimbabwe. You know what I mean? And only thing you hear about, is, like you said, it's more Middle Eastern than South Africa. And it's like we said, it's more or less because of the legacy of Mandela. So many people got behind this man worldwide that for them to turn back around and say, hey, this ain't working out, you know what I mean? They would make themselves look foolish.
They cannot do it.
Yeah. And I hope our next president is a president that will look in these kind of issues and at least address them. If not do anything, well, at least acknowledge them. Like they recently acknowledged, that the Christians in the Middle East being murdered is genocide. I at least like for them to look at South Africa and say, white Africans, really all white Africans beyond the border, are being genocided out, Yeah. And, I mean, you got a country that they've lived in, most of them can trace their lineage back 200 or 300 years in this country, and they're being told to leave and go back to their country, go back to where you came from. So, I mean, it's like me in America. My family been here since 1635. It'd be like today them saying, go back to where you came from, go back to England or wherever you come from, This is all I know, just like the African, the white African, that's all they know is Africa. Where do you go back to when Africa's your home? You're just as African as the black African, So,
on that note, I want to play another Tattoo Billy song, my absolute favorite one. We were talking about the god of the Boer, the god of Blood River. And on that note, I really want to play this song because it fits in perfectly. It's called Praise Him.
Once I was a blind man, wandering to and fro. Once I was in sin, out of control. But He reached down and picked me up, poured His Spirit over me, knocked the scales from my eyes, and now I see. Praise Him, praise Him, praise His holy name. I was in sin, but He loved me just the same. Praise Him, praise Him. Won't you be praising His name? Suffer little children, come on to Thee. The Lamb's blood is life, He'll set you free. Deep breath, oh breath, starving and deep, save your soul. Your heart free. Praise Him, praise Him, praise Him, the ruler of this world, Lord of Lords and King of Kings. Praise Him, praise Him. Morning, noon, night, praise Him and He'll make your life right. Praise Him and He'll make your heart right.
That was Praise Him by Tattoo Billy, and apart from being my all-time favorite Tattoo Billy song, that was my song for the Easter weekend just past, because Christ is risen, and we should indeed be praising Him.
That's true.
Yeah, I appreciate that. I love to hear them songs and know that even though as a song recorded in 88 or 89, it's still, Dad's voice still living on after he's passed on, and so I'm glad other people are being blessed by it.
Ed, you would not believe how many times I've played that song on air all over the place because I absolutely love it. It speaks to my heart, that song. So, guys, now, you were saying, Ed, that music, there we go back to your theme. Music speaks louder to people than any form of violence or any form of yelling or anything like that. It touches the heart. It it brings out your emotions. It makes you care, or it makes you happy, or it makes you sad, or it brings you a memory, as in your case, your dad. He lives on through that music. So this plan for this concert is just a brilliant, wonderful thing to do, because not only will we be helping farmers, we will be bringing, hopefully, scores of people together to speak to their hearts through the music. And I can't think of a better way of bringing joy and caring to people than through music.
I agree.
Sorry, you're going to Ed.
No, I just said I agree.
Over to you, Patrick.
I said, well, what we say to people is, your ticket that you purchased for this event is your contribution to a farmer. Whether you can make it to the concert or not, your ticket will still be a contribution to the farmers. And a lot of people on Facebook have mailed us and said, listen, even if they can't make it, can they still purchase the ticket? A lady that doesn't even go to events said she'll come especially for this event because of the need of the farmers, And I mean, with the help of your radio station and people like Ed, I mean, it just makes life so much easier.
Patrick, you know the Million Stemmer for Steve's project of, the farm thing that they're putting up posters and saying that you need a farmer 3 times a day, and once he's gone, what's going to happen? That thing ties in so well with what you're doing, because I don't know why people don't realize that without the farmer, we are going to starve to death.
That is. Yep. It is. It's an international thing. Agriculture is something that touches every country. And we've always said, if you kill a farmer, you're indirectly killing yourself because you're taking a plate of food from your table.
Absolutely. I mean, there's that speech that Steve gave, unfortunately in Afrikaans, so I cannot use it, but I would love to, because he said, you kill the farmer, you're going to starve, you're killing our chances at another meal, another generation, you just lose another Boer voice. And it's not just his voice, it's his kids' voice as well, and their kids. So you're losing generations of Afrikaans voices by killing one farmer's family. And Steve said it so powerfully and so beautifully, but I can't use it here.
Yeah, I don't think they'll understand the Afrikaans language.
No, I have so many inquiries about my opening song, That Genoeg by Sunette Bridges. They love it, but what is it? Well, for me, we're Radio Free South Africa, and we're talking about the problems that the whites are having in South Africa. And that song of Sunette says it all. Right from the heart. We're tired. We've had enough of all the killing. I don't want to hear about any more killing and rape and murder and Malema and Zuma and fraud and corruption. We don't want to hear it anymore. We just want to live in peace. And you can't find a better song than that to say it.
Yeah, that's all in one song. No, that's very true.
And once again, we come back to the songs speak to you.
Definitely. I love that second one that you played. And I'm definitely going to speak to Ed about that song, that we can get people to buy that song and help, with the donations to Farmers Aid event.
Yes, yes. Ed has been very kind. He's sent me nearly all his music and given me blanket permission to use it on behalf of white South Africans. And he did a wonderful thing for me. We did a New Year's Day because I didn't want to do a serious show on New Year's when people have got hangovers and whatever. So Ed DJ'd a New Year's Day thing for me with South African music only. So we had Sunette and Ed and Lizette and a couple of others singing. And it was so well received. It was so popular. It's one of my videos on YouTube that have had the most hits on it because the music speaks to people, even if it's not in your language. It speaks to you. And I think that we need to do that sometimes, to lighten. There's no way of glossing over the doom and gloom and the murders in South Africa. But we really do need sometimes to show that despite everything, South Africans are still singing.
No.
It's important that we can do that and show the world how resilient the South African Boer is.
Boer is a very proud person, Gareth. A very person. He's got a good heart, but don't mess with him either. Mangosuthu Buthelezi said years ago, just before 1994, and he made a statement. He said, if a Boer goes underground, he's the most dangerous person in South Africa.
Yes, yes.
And this is what's happening at the moment, with all these killings and stuff. They're busy pushing these. It's like a bottle. If you keep the lid on and you're building that pressure, it's going to explode sometime. And this is what's happening. It's like a pressure cooker at the moment. The Boer is a bit tired of all these killings of their friends and family and stuff. And that's a scary thought to have, because once they retaliate, there's problems.
Well, I want to go back to the thing that you were saying about training the people from the squatter camps into security. Now there's another wonderful couple. They work hand in hand with Lee. They Esmeralda and Quentin van Zyl of the VAS Foundation. Now, okay. I don't know if you remember a couple of weeks back when they had to evacuate the children from Munseyville.
Yes.
Well, it was Quentin and Esmeralda who drove that whole initiative, and most of the children went to their house overnight. Now, they were talking to some of the children, obviously, and asking what you want to be when you grow up, etc. And from that awful event of having to evacuate those children, with not knowing if they would have even a squatter shack to go back to the next morning. I mean, nobody knew at that time what was going to happen. They formed this idea of taking a census of the skills of the people in the camps. So what did they do before they were dispossessed and put in those camps? And then taking those skills and getting those people to teach those skills to the youngsters. And they came up with that idea from that awful night at Munseyville. And we've been doing a census of the camps. We've got forms out with everybody who goes into a camp is taking forms with them and doing a census in the camps of what skills exist and how we can help to lift them out of the camps into something better. So that ties in with what you want to do, because those people that you're going to train into security, we are hoping to have welders and metal workers making security gates and burglar bars. Now, it's in its beginning stages. It hasn't, we don't have the funds to do it yet, because you're going to need you need a big building like an empty warehouse. You're going to need all the tools. You're going to need teaching apparatus. You're going to need all kinds of things. But maybe you should speak to those people as well, because it ties in with what you are planning to do. And what I've said forever is we need to join hands. We don't need to, every little group, be going off and doing some initiative of their own that somebody else is already struggling to do. We need to do it together, because together we can have more funds and more ability to get it off the ground. So I will introduce you to them tomorrow, so that you can chat to Quentin and hear what he has to say. I think they've called it Small Beginnings, something like that. I'll give you a link to the show they did with Blackbird 9, and you can hear what their plan is, because I think, and so does Lee, and so does everybody else, that these people, apart from needing a hand out to stay alive, they need to eat, and they need a place to stay, and they need clothes to wear. So they need a hand out, but they need most of all a hand up. And with this
So that's-
initiative of yours, and the one of Lee's was a farm that they want to get, and the one of the VAS Foundation of the skilled person training the up-and-coming youngsters so that they have a skill. I think if we put all three of them together, we could create something way bigger than any one of you could do on your own.
No, definitely. You know, if you see on our logo, on the Farmers Aid logo, you know, it stands there, together we can.
Yes,
You know?
yes.
If you're not going to get together, you're not going to achieve anything. You know, this is not a thing about no farmer wants to do everything or this person wants to do everything. No, come together, forget who you are, and focus on what the main thing is, and that's to help the white people.
Absolutely. Now, all three groups are doing exactly that. But if you liaised with each other and did it together, there's a much bigger percentage chance of success than doing it each little group by themselves.
No, definitely.
And as it wasn't a Moore from Million Stemmer, I think it was Engley said, everybody wants to be a chief. And that's where the problem lies. Everyone wants to be a chief, and nobody wants to be an Indian. But I think I know all the main players in all three of these groups, and you will work together well. So I think it's a very good idea to join those initiatives because we have some support for that here in the USA already. And
I'm sorry, Carrie. It's like exactly what you said. I had, like you said, with National Front, they had a farmers relief thing, and then there was a lot of farmers that had their own farmer relief thing. But I was sharing all these different farm relief, you know, aspect. No one is, like you said, if they would work under one, you know what I mean, put all this together and work together on this, you know, it's like you said, it would be way more, you know, effective. You know.
Yes.
And
yes.
Another great woman, she's living in Denmark, I think, and her name's Mel V. I don't know, have you heard of her?
I know Mel V. I've been on her TV show.
Okay, she's got a relief thing she just started. And they're all great. They're all great things, but it's hard to, you know what I mean? If everybody would just unite under one banner in this aspect, and more could be accomplished.
Absolutely. We would have a louder voice, a bigger donation base, and we could achieve so much more than these scattered little splinter groups all doing the same thing, but at odds with each other.
Yes.
No, very true.
And not everybody can be a leader. It's like you just said. You know, I'm content, and always has been since joining in this. You know, being an Indian. It's just doing my part, and I can, you know, you can recognize who can be leaders out of South Africa. And, I mean, you got, like you said, Sunette Bridges, and you got Steve Hoffmeyer that are speaking out. And these are two great leaders to really unite under and banner, you know. And I know they run thin, too, because they can't be everywhere at once. But, you know, it's like you said, it's almost to the point in South Africa is becoming so detrimental, you know, and dangerous there that it's almost to the point where you know, the election of a leader amongst our own people, you know, it's saying it's far-fetched, but I don't see it as far-fetched. I don't see it as far-fetched as in America. When we broke off from England, we just did it. We've refused to acknowledge them anymore. And it's almost to that point in South Africa where it's almost you have to break off and not acknowledge the leadership anymore. Elect your own leader to represent you, to unite under that one banner, just with not just in the political sense like I'm saying, but like you're saying too, even in the funding, even in security, in all
We
aspects.
need to hold hands and work together. We're coming to the end of the show. So, Patrick, do you have any closing thoughts?
I just want to say thank you, Cora, for having me on the show and helping us creating that awareness. And thanks to Ed for all his help. I think if we get more people like yourselves, the world can just be a much better place.
Thank you very much,
Ed.
It's
nice talking to you guys and talking to Patrick. I appreciate him staying up and dedicating and staying up as late as he had to tonight. And
God bless America, God bless South Africa, and God help the world we live in today. And as always, I'm closing with my own act of defiance, destem.